If you've passed by a refill shop and thought it was a good idea but never actually gone and shopped there, why not? Maybe you don't know how they work, or you think you have to be too organized, or you're worried about looking silly if you try. In this video, I'm going to teach you all you need to know about refilling so you can grab your containers with confidence and reduce your waste. Before I get started with the practicalities, let's talk about why people refill. Some of you will have experienced this way of shopping as a child, or heard your parents or grandparents talk about it. So why is it coming back now? In a nutshell, it's about reducing waste. The Big Plastic Count from May 2022 estimates that Brits alone throw away 96 billion pieces of single-use plastic every year. Plastic has gotten so prolific, the Ellen MacArthur Foundation estimates by 2050 there will be more plastic than fish in the ocean by weight. It's already a big problem. Just read about this baby sea turtle rescued in Sydney, Australia, that pooped nothing but plastic for 6 days after being rescued. Plastic has been found at the bottom of the Marianas Trench. There are 5 garbage patches around the world, not just the one in the Pacific Ocean. Microplastics have been found in the placentas of newborn babies, and it's estimated that each of us consumes a credit card amount of plastic every week. This isn't healthy for us or for the planet. If you're not that bothered about the planet, how about money? On a local level, refilling reduces waste, so there is less to be collected, sent to landfill, or incinerated. If refilling and reusing packaging was the norm, we wouldn't need to spend as much money on bin collections. We wouldn't need to use as much land for stinky landfills, and we wouldn't need to build waste-to-energy plants. We also wouldn't see as much litter ending up on our roads and in our waterways. Packaging that is thrown away is simply a waste of resources. To make plastic bags requires oil to be extracted, refined, transported, processed into bags, bottles, or trays, then transported to factories to be filled with product, transported again to get those products into shops. Reusing packaging you already have eliminates that wasted energy. I hear you saying, yes, Darcy, but that's why I recycle. Did you know only 10% of all plastic produced has ever been recycled? A huge amount of plastic is ending up in our waterways, oceans, and wildlife. The idea of recycling was invented by plastic manufacturers in the 1970s to appease citizens like us who were annoyed by the growing volume of plastic litter they were seeing. But unfortunately, the reality of recycling is that it is difficult and expensive, and new plastic is cheap and plentiful, so companies are opting to use it to keep costs down. Refilling isn't a competition, and there's no requirement to be perfect at it. If everyone put a little bit of effort into refill, we could see a dramatic drop in demand for new containers. We would also see a reduction in food waste by not being forced to buy more than we actually need. It's the idea that lots of little changes add up to big ones. So even if you only refill one product, you're adding your drop to the bucket. As Anne-Marie Bono said, we don't need a handful of people doing zero waste perfectly. We need millions of people doing it imperfectly. Your nearest refill shop might be on the high street, in a van, a bus, or a boat, or maybe just a few refill bins in a farm shop or garden center. No matter where you find it, it will either be the type where the staff serve you or the type where you serve yourself. In a shop where the staff serves you, you'll have someone there helping you through the entire process. This gives you a chance to ask questions or get recommendations while you're being served. You can be specific about how much you want to buy, and it's usually faster than self-serve. The only disadvantage is you may have to queue if there aren't many staff. This is why I offer appointments, so you don't have to queue behind somebody who's refilling 20 containers. When you visit a shop where you serve yourself, it may take a little longer while you familiarize yourself with where things are and master using the dispensers. You will learn how to read the scale, and you must remember to record the weight of your container before you start. However, most refill shop owners and staff are quite friendly and will be happy to assist you while you learn the ropes. To make refilling go smoothly, it's worth doing some preparation at home before you go the first time. First, check online for a price list from your local shop so you know in advance what products they offer. This way you can avoid disappointment and avoid carrying empty containers home again. Next, gather the containers you'll fill. You are allowed to bring plastic containers. No one is going to judge you. Even better is if you're reusing packaging you've already got. For example, resealable cheese bags, cereal boxes, or takeaway boxes. Decide how much you want of each item. You don't have to know exactly how many grams, but you might if you're shopping for a recipe. Just work out which things you use less of, which things you use more, and allocate your containers accordingly. If you don't want to spend more than a certain amount, it's worth figuring out how many grams you should buy before you go so you're not on the spot trying to do the maths. Lots of people label their containers either with a marker or a sticker or by tearing off little slips of paper, writing the food name on it, and then popping it inside. This makes it easier to remember what you wanted to put in each jar and also means you don't have to remember to bring your list, and most people forget it anyway. When choosing containers to refill, think about how easy it will be to get the contents to go in and stay in. By that I mean a wide-mouth container is going to be easier to fill, and it also needs to have a lid or some other way of keeping it closed for the ride home. That could be a clip, a rubber band, or a piece of tape. If you're reusing jars, check they don't have lingering strong odors from pickles and chutneys. If they do, then don't use them for things like porridge oats or nuts that might absorb those odors, unless you like that sort of thing. Make sure the insides of your containers are dry. Moisture will allow mold to grow, and it can ruin your food. It's also best practice to wash out your containers between refills. If you're refilling liquids, you can usually reuse bottles from products you already have, but be sensible. Bottles for liquids should be made from sturdy materials, suitable to the contents. I know it's tempting to reuse milk or drinks bottles, but those plastics are very recyclable, and the bottles are usually thin and flimsy. It's really best not to use them at all. You also need to look after your bottles. Because we're used to throwing them away after one use, we're also used to being bottle abusers. If you squeeze it and put the cap on while it's squished, you're probably crimping the plastic and creating weak spots. Some e-cover bottles are really badly designed and they're notorious for cracking and breaking. And take it from me, it's not very fun to discover those cracks right after you've filled it up. But the process of refilling itself is pretty straightforward. You just come visit the van, hand me your containers one at a time, and tell me what you want and how much. You can say you want your container filled, half full, specify a number of grams, even tell me how much money you want to spend, and I'll work that out on the scale. If you're going to a shop where you serve yourself, you're going to weigh your container before you start and write that down. Otherwise, you could end up overpaying for your refills because the container weight will be included in the final weight. You'll fill the container using the dispensers, and your containers will be weighed again at checkout, and then that's how they'll work out what weight of product you've taken. So here are some do's and don'ts to kind of help you along the way. If you want to refill cleaning bottles you already have, do empty and rinse them before your first visit. Do ask for help if you're not sure what to do, but don't use your hands to touch things. Use the scoops, the tongs, and the funnels provided. Don't put food back once it's been in your jar. That's a health hazard. If you've accidentally taken too much, speak to a member of staff for help. Do travel the bottle with the pump when you're filling liquids, unless you want to go home wearing your liquids. And do look after your bottles. Don't squeeze and crush them with the lid on top. Anyway, I hope that this video has gone some way towards helping you feel more confident about going to your local refill shop and giving refilling a try. It's a really great way to do something concrete, and at a minimum, maybe you just don't see your bins overflowing with waste at the end of the week. So thanks for watching, and if you liked this video, please think about liking and subscribing to my channel so that it means that YouTube will show it to more people. Thanks again. See you soon.